Hi there, my name is Steve Snap, and I wanted to take just a few minutes and talk about this concept that I refer to as neglected accounts. One of the things that a lot of my clients struggle with is the ability to drive behavior that focuses their attention on the right accounts or contacts or even opportunities. So we came up with a very simple way of identifying what we call neglected accounts. Now, the word neglected isn't a magic word. We could change that. Some people don't like the word neglected. But basically what we did is we added a formula on the account record in this example that shows which records have been neglected for more than 30 days. So the idea is simple. If I've talked to somebody within the last 30 days, we call them updated. If I've talked to somebody between 30 and 60 days, I call them at risk, and anybody over 60 is neglected. So the idea is that we're constantly looking at the activity on the record to see if the record, the account in this case, is neglected or not. And if it is, we then show it on a dashboard. So in the dashboard that I'm showing here, we basically show of all of my accounts which ones are at risk, which ones are neglected, and which ones have been updated. And more importantly, from this list, by drilling into it, I can determine which ones need some attention. So you'll notice here that I can see which ones are at risk, I can see which ones are neglected, and then finally, which ones are updated. Now, the key to this working is the fact that it's tied into the activity for these particular records. So in this particular example, I'm going to go ahead and open up one of these accounts, and I'm just going to demonstrate real quickly what it looks like when I add activity. So you can see that they're currently labeled red, and I'm simply going to add a note in this case that I've had some conversation with them. So I'm simply going to pop over here. I'll go ahead and record, just call this quick chat. I'll go ahead and make this for, let's say it's yesterday. And then once I do that, you'll see that their status goes to green. Now, if I go back to this report and refresh it, you'll see that this account, Global Media, will now come off the report and they'll go into my updated status. So I'll go ahead and refresh this report. You'll see that Global Media came off, and then now if I go down to my updated, you'll see that that account is now in the updated category. So what's the significance of this? Well, the purpose of this is to allow you to demonstrate in a visual form what's happening with your accounts. But more importantly, it's about creating a behavior that associates neglected accounts with something negative. So one of the techniques that I often recommend is that clients incorporate a concept like this into their weekly or bi-weekly meeting. So for example, you might have an opportunity review where you're working through your opportunity pipeline. Well, you might decide to take 15 minutes of that time and talk about neglected accounts. And from that conversation, you can show the neglected account dashboard. Now, the example that I'm showing here is basically a dashboard based on an account based on accounts, but it's also based on one particular rep's view. So in this example, I'm looking at my own list of accounts and I see which ones are neglected. Well, in a team meeting environment, you might have a team dashboard that shows the neglected accounts by team member. So in that example, this chart that you see here, which belongs to me, you'd see my name here, Steve Snap, and then you'd see a little bar for at risk, you'd see a big chunk for neglected and a smaller chunk for updated. And you'd see one for John and one for Sam, etc. So that team dashboard would essentially be the same dashboard as an individual rep dashboard. It's just the rep would use this on a daily basis and you'd use the team dashboard in your review. So the idea being is that once you've established that you, the manager, are reviewing that report, it's not going to take very long before sort of natural competition kicks in and reps aren't going to be the one, they're not going to want to be the one in the meeting that has the biggest chunk of neglected accounts. Now, the neat thing about this concept also is it doesn't necessarily only apply to accounts. In this case, we're talking about accounts. That's the example that I used. But it could be neglected contacts. It could be neglected opportunities. So imagine you're having your pipeline review and you're talking about deals, and then one of the charts on your dashboard shows neglected opportunities. Same idea. It could be an opportunity that hasn't had any recent activity. Now, I understand that reps may sometimes add in junk information or just add in kind of a bogus email or a bogus phone call to sort of cheat the system. And I recognize that that's a possibility. We can talk more about, well, how do you avoid that? But the purpose here is to associate of behavior in your reps with a particular dashboard. By the way, this applies to other dashboards as well. I'm simply using this one as an example, but anytime you want to drive that behavior, you want to, I think, set up what I call a meeting rhythm where you're reviewing a dashboard at least monthly, but sometimes twice a month or even weekly. The idea being there that once your team recognizes that this dashboard is being used to measure performance on some level, they'll pay a lot more attention to it. So in review, what I showed today was just a very, very simple dashboard based on a very simple formula field that helps you visualize the status of an account, contact, or opportunity, and then visually show that to your reps, and then follow up with that on a weekly or bi-weekly basis to reinforce that metric and to also drive behavior. If you have any questions or comments, please add those in the section below. Would love to hear from you, and please subscribe and like this video if you found it valuable. Thank you.